Oh my God. I have just had one of the most wonderful 24 hours. You know, actually, just a great week, Pezza. It's just been one of the greatest weeks in the entirety of Australian cricket history, certainly in our lifetimes, and I will be speaking for you on this podcast, and in fact the nation's feelings on this podcast. But everyone's played their part, Pezza. Everyone has played their part. We got the brand new toy at the start. We got the Supercoat doing the Supercoat thing. We got the reaction to that. And then we get a great game of cricket. We got Steve Smith 100. We got some Jasprit Bumrah magic stuff, magician kind of gear, wizard sleeve stuff. And then we get one of the greatest gas trucks in the history of Test cricket. And then, on top of that, we get the Cry Me Amore reaction online. It's just like, it's the most perfect chef's kiss, Christmas gift, kiss on the dick week of Australian cricket history. Now, like, so many people are upset, which is just a population thing. But, my God, that is a fucking joyous week of cricket, Pezza.
Dog. I mean, we're recording, you know, it's the afternoon after the evening before. And, you know, ordinarily this is a time for decompression. I don't want to decompress. It's fresh leather belts around the neck stuff for me. And so many others, you know. It's every set of highlights available. It's every podcast that's on. It's grabbing neighbours off the street, dragging them in against their will. Watch this. What about when bowling gets your deja? You know, it's finding things you didn't realise existed in the game. And I think so much of it is because, I mean, Australia just wasn't ahead in this game. You know, in any serious way. You know, there was no point where it's like, okay, foot on the throat, time to finish this off. India was always coming. Anyway, getting into X's and O's later. You know, it's a, dare I say it, you know, it's a time for misty-eyed earnestness about the grand old game, you know, of Test cricket as I start to speak in vibrato about it. There's never been more people at a game of cricket in Australia. What the fuck? This is 2024. We have TikTok-addled brains and Adderall-addled brains as well for our ADHD, which is actually a trauma response. So yeah, dog. It's fantastic times for the nation, and you're exactly right. It's perfectly peppered and sprinkled with Cry Me Amore discourse online. Which
Mate, I think that's one of the most important things, because I don't want to get into the gear where it's like, well, you're just winning a home series. Well done. Like the contribution of fandom online cannot be stated, because like if it wasn't for the absolute garbage from officials, legends of the game, and nobodies on the internet, then this would be like, just winning 2-1 at home. But like without the sprinkling of fucking that Turkish Salt Bay guy who touched the World Cup for some reason when Messi won it, like without that sprinkle of gold dust, this would just be, just another summer. Aussies winning, couple of good tests, Big Bashes on. I'm Mr. Blobby, walking down the rooms, you know, just knocking into stuff, not really knowing what's going on. No one knows what day it is. Without that, this would be nothing. Anyway, without you guys out there, this show would be nothing. And in fact, in many ways, people have been saying this show is nothing. But thank you very much to people that have got behind this show, and the support for the show obviously comes from our dear friends on Patreon, the Pay Pigs, the Super Pigs, other pigs involved. How many people walked up to us, Pezza, and said, hey, I'm a paid fuck pig, which I never thought I'd get to at this stage of life at 38 years old, but here I am. Patreon.com/Great Cricket if you want to support the show. Hey, I can't think of a time, Pezza, where I've looked forward to a live show more than in 3 days' time at the Enmore Theatre. There have been we probably could have sold that twice. There have been so many people who want to come, which is super exciting. Ricky Ponting joining us on stage. That's the night before the Sydney Test match on January 2nd. But let me tell you, Sydney Siders, if you're coming to that show, I want you to bring the most electric vibe that we've seen ever at a TGC live show. And fuck me, the people around the country have brought the heat. You know, the Brisbane Heat, of course. And actually Brisbane, last time we were out with Doss, he brought the heat. You know, Stoinis and Agar in Perth, that was one of our favourite ever shows. Adelaide, you really kicked us off well there, with Bluey especially. But, like, January 2, that's going to be electric. Now, if you want to come to a live show, it's only Melbourne available now. Our second show in Melbourne. Pete Hanscom will be joining us. He's replaced Peter Siddle, who, of course, has signed with the Melbourne Stars. If you want to come to that show, there's only a few tickets left to that show. It's at the Forum Theatre. It's January 9. It's Thursday, January 9. Pete Hanscom, the guest. Tickets available at Ticketek or greycricketer.com. Please do come along. A few seats available for that. I think it's in the realm of like 50 or 60 seats left. So that's going to sell out again. So come along to see us. But if you're coming to Sydney, fuck me, get around us and get around Ricky Ponting and get around the series. Anything else you want to say, Pezzo? Cricket Natal has been kicking off.
Mate, Cricket Natal, look, I can't echo you more, he goes. I don't think there's ever been more electricity leading into a live show than this one. And there's been quite a few live shows, and we've done them in a couple of different places. Lucky to have electricity actually when we did it in Delhi, and that was just because there was a guy, there was 4 guys trying to fix a projector. That's all I'm saying.
An HDMI cord. We travelled to India and know it an HDMI cord. Yeah.
But this will be equal most people we've ever had at a live show. Obviously doing the Enmore last year. This one sold out far quicker than the Enmore did last year. Australia's 2-1 up in the BGT. They still probably need a result, given the way Test cricket goes, to hold on to the BGT. We've got Ricky Ponting in-house. There's already suggestions. People are actually... I'm not suggesting that Sydney it becomes the dress-up live show, but people are writing in saying they're going to come in full whites and their batting equipment as well. Whereas some others are going to cosplay as SCG members as well. You know, light blue shirt, button up, sleeves done, watch showing just so, chinos, RMs, you name it. Driving a black BMW. My kid goes to Joey's, that kind of thing.
I came as a cunt.
But we will be walking on stage like fucking Vince McMahon, and don't worry, we'll get through our shit and we'll bring Punter on, and we'll just see where it goes. It's gonna be unbelievable. And yeah, like shout to the Brisbane crowd. I don't know if we've done a pod since then, but they were feral in the best way possible.
Yes,
especially for DOS. So yeah, we can't wait. Cricket our tower. Look, Gideon Haig and Pete Lawler are on absolute fire, urging everybody, if you want to read the best that cricket writing has to offer in the universe, to sign up to cricketertowel.com. It's the best on the planet. You can get it at a competitive rate without putting money in the pockets of billionaire media moguls. cricketertowel.com. They've still got so much to write in this series, and there's so much to read that they've already written. So you can get that at an absolute steal, to be honest. We made mistakes with the pricing, put it that way. Yeah, here goes. It's it's everything's coming up Australia in the last couple of days.
I just want to say as well, one more thing about Patreon is that many people are writing that they're addicted to the chat. You know, I guess we're now part of the Chinese TikTok algorithm sort of stuff, just like really like sort of casino vibe, no visible exits, no daylight coming in. That's what the kind of vibe is with Patreon. Anyway, if you want to get behind us there and support TJ saying get around the summer, that's how you do it. Hey, Budgie Smuggler, this is the last thing before we get into the series, I promise. The test match. Budgie Smuggler have once again got around TGC for a limited edition set of smugglers and T-shirt. The T-shirt is look good, feel good, play good. That's the branding on the back. You know, we'll show it to you on socials the next couple of days. And there's 2 TGC themed budgie smugglers in 2 designs, one in the TGC kind of navy blue and then the light blue as well. This is limited time, limited stock. There's a link for this. If you want to get involved, there's a link for it in the description of this video or in the audio if you're listening to it, or you can find it on our socials as well. Limited time and limited stock. Look good, play good, feel good T-shirt. Designed by Budgie Smuggler. It's great gear, let me tell you. This is the top quality gear. It's great gear. And then also the 2 TGC-themed Budgie Smugglers. And thank you very much to Budgie for making this happen in collaboration with us. It's something we've looked forward to with this, and now it's happening. So limited time, limited stock, link in the description, etc. Get behind it if you want to. Okay. India lose 7 wickets in the final session in 20 overs, Pezza. It was petering out for a draw. Australia were bowling to get through the overs so they weren't docked World Test Championship points. About 65, 75 minutes later, Australia go 2-1 up in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. It's a combination of willpower, gas trucks, complete fuck-ups, somehow controversies, and I want to tell you about the time that I hit one to cover, and there was no snicko, so I was not out. That's to come later. The final session, as an Australian fan, I mean, you know, Boxing Day is just such an important test match in the Australian cricket calendar, and everyone played their part. Everyone played their part, Pezza.
He goes, it's quite simply one of the greatest wins in Australian Test cricket history, in Australian cricket history, in Australian society, in Australia writ large. What do you say about a game that's secured in the final hour of the day, where Crimea Mores online point out that there might have only been 4 to 5 more overs left to play due to light?
Okay.
You know, where shadows lengthened across the historic MCG, you know, where after having woken up thinking earlier that Australia must have just you know, Australia were like rubber bands around a watermelon, you know, with their bowling. I was thinking that this was a bowling-based win, and then realising the more you think about it and speak to people pretty close to the source, that you can't believe Richard played that shot to Travis Head.
He got a couple of good balls in the test match, Pezza. You know, sometimes you can't do anything about it, you know?
So the element of the Indian gas truck, the reversing of the truck, can't be understated here. And that is really, like, if we are shopping the fair income department, that is the major conversation going on in India at the moment among people who do choose to engage in normal conversation. You know, Australia's dad's army of aging bowlers, you know, now we'll say all of them are on one leg, you know, doing it on a wicket that was offering only a little in front of a record crowd, you know, at a test match in Australia. Like, this is, it's stuff for the ages. It's not what the futurists had in store for test cricket. It stirs the soul, doesn't it? You know, and so much of it was led by young people as well. You know, in particular, Konstas. You could call out Nitish, Kumar, Reddy. You know, this wasn't a game where the old blokes got it done. There was the perfect mix of past, present, and future, not just on the field, but also what Australia looks like as a nation as well.
So Australia ended up winning the game by 184 runs, but of course that's not really the story. It is just one of the great thrilling finishes, and they somehow get it done before the second new ball, therefore not being docked any World Test Championship points at all. So let's talk about. Should we talk about the record crowd? I mean, you sort of touched on the record crowd. I mean, that is part of this discussion of this Test match. It's part of the joy of the Test match, in that, like, there was 380,000 people came through the gates of 4 days of cricket. You know, even on day 5, 75,000 people came through. You know, sold out days 1, just about days 2 as well. But, like, how much joy was in the ground? You know, it was such a... Australia were leading. I don't think at any point India were leading. Perhaps in the third innings. Perhaps they were leading in the third innings. Though, in the end, Australia have bowled India out in the final innings for 155, but that's not a true reflection of how the innings went, you would say. But how much energy and life and verve was in the ground, and how much life the Indian fans gave the Test match and cricket in Australia as a whole. You know, I think about even the one-dayers, Pezza, where Australia playing against Pakistan in front of like 20,000 people, and you can guarantee 19 and a half of those were Pakistani fans, you know, and like the energy and the noise and the excitement that they bring. You know, Australians enjoy their cricket in a very different way, and I think that's also part of the sort of fractured relationship that these two cricket nations have, is that culturally they are so far apart in how they celebrate and enjoy their cricket. But when there's 380,000 people going to a Test match that's gone 5 days and it's finished an hour and a bit before in the final hour of day 5, I mean, that is just so magnificent. And also, like, India don't sell out Test matches when Australia's playing in India. You know, there is something magic about Test matches in Australia. It is the more important format. You know, I think there's obviously conversation down the line about where cricket's going as a whole, but like for now, Australia puts all the eggs in the Test cricket basket, and then India come to town, England here next year as well. Like, this is, I I mean, it's just fucking awesome, you know? It's just so awesome that people care about it and that many people care about it, you know?
Yeah, and like, as I say, it's demonstrating the changing face of Australia, you know, because India's travelled here before to play Test cricket. I mean, I find it mind-blowing that the crowd that came through to the MCG, and like when we talk about crowds, there's always mayo involved, but we were there. There was no mayo. It was rammed with people every single day. Pete Lawler wrote a beautiful piece on Cricket at Our on the Bell yesterday about the experience of them throwing open the gates for day 5, where you could get a $10 ticket, and within 90 minutes of them announcing that on day 4, 25,000 tickets had been snapped up. And that the MCG had to suddenly start opening sections of the ground that it wanted to run on what Pete was saying was quarter rat power. And it kept happening and happening and happening. People were writing into Pete saying, you know, travelling in on a train from Werribee felt like being on a train from Gujarat. You know, there was something really stirring about people being able to access the game who perhaps ordinarily couldn't access it, given how steep it can be to go to cricket as well. So $10 rammed with people power, a lot of Indian people as well, just gave it such an incredible atmosphere. It's incredible to think that the number of people at the ground surpassed things that were happening in, you know, the abstract golden age of Bradman. And we speak so often about Test cricket being something headed towards, you know, a Civil War reenactment. I mean, most of the discourse about cricket today is about how, you know, the IPL is worth $15 billion as a market cap, and you only play it 2 months a year. So what's it going to be worth when you play it 10 months a year? But and Test cricket will never compete with that. But, you know, our little nation, you know, for 2 to 4 weeks a year, does it our way. And yesterday was this payoff for, you know, the hell of long-form cricket that you go through to get to heaven a lot of the time. You know, I'm generally a bit cold on the weepy solemnity of cricket traditionalists. I'd like to think there's a place for lots of different types of cricket. But nothing fucking compares to yesterday and to just the gloriousness of the swings and roundabouts, ups and downs, ebbs and flows of the grandest game. And it just fucking, it came home to roost yesterday afternoon.
I do feel sorry for Michael Vaughan, who said in the Adelaide Test match it's time for 4-day test. Then the next test it rains, so we needed the day 5. And then the next test after that we get one of the all-time great test matches. I mean, you know, but he's standing his ground, and you got to respect that. Because you know what, fundamentally, I think about it, and you know, Stuart Clark makes a good point where he said, I heard him yesterday saying 5-day tests are better because if you have 4-day tests and they'll just fill the calendar up with T20 matches, I'm like, yeah, I can see that. But Michael Vaughan makes a good point as well. It's you got to move with the times. I can see that as well. I think one thing that's been great about this series, it might just be from a scheduling or calendar point of view, but test matches starting on Friday or Saturday, just way better. It just works out for everyone. Especially when you get to the Sydney and Melbourne test matches in the last few years, where they've been Boxing Day, New Year's. Doesn't matter what day you start it, but just get as many people the opportunity to watch cricket. Now, if you start a test match in mid-January, in mid-December on a Wednesday, no one's going to that, right? So, anyway, whatever. But I do feel a bit for Michael Vaughan, where he said it and he's standing on it. And then the next 2 test matches happen. Anyway, let's talk about Pat Cummins, Pezza, who finishes with a Johnny Muller medal. He scored 90 runs, 49 and 41. 3 wickets in each innings, 3 crucial wickets. He also gets the run out in the first innings of Jaiswal, although that is attributed to Kohli, of course, for absolutely barbecuing his mate. His captaincy is exemplary. His leadership is astonishing. I'm at my parents' house at the moment. I flew to Sydney this morning, so if there's any sort of fuck ups or but the audio's no good or something, I apologise for the impromptu setup that we've got going on here. But I actually happened to be on the same flight as Cummins this morning, and Cummins received an ovation from the people on the plane. As, by the way, he was walking not in business. He was walking to the back of the plane. he's a man of the people. I couldn't believe it. Now I felt awkward because I was in business, but but he genuinely, as he was walking down the plane, he genuinely received an ovation from people. I've only ever seen that once before, Pezza, and that was about like 5 or 6 years ago when Americans have been flown in to fight the bushfires, to help us with the bushfires in New South Wales at the time. Now, that's the only time I've ever seen people clap on a plane. Obviously, after, people stop doing that when the pilot just lands the plane these days. But he was getting love from just the ordinary punter. There was Indians on the flight, so congratulations. He was being very humble, but he also had a look in the eye being like, a few people said I should have declared. Look how it turned out, He had a look in the eye. He had a look in the eye of the big alpha, Now, what more does this guy need to do for him to get a fucking, I don't know what more he needs to. We need to give him something. He's obviously got the medal. He's got the captaincy. He's sitting in fucking row 37B. I mean, he's doing. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. He's a
probably
perfect
middle
man.
seat as well.
Probably.
I mean, there's one question emerging out of that. Where did those firefighters sit? Were they 1A or?
I thought Cummins was going to fly the plane. As soon as he got on, mate, straight in the cockpit for you, Cummo. Do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I get concerned when people start to look like 10 out of 10 as people, though, as well. That's when they're skeletons, That's when they got a dungeon. So, I'll be reserving judgment on Paddy C.
Good.
Yeah, pretty good result to get a couple of 3-fers, a couple of 40s, involvement in a run out, and you get you get man of the match over guys who took 5-fers and made hundreds. But everything's coming up old golden balls there, isn't it? With Cummo. Yeah, I don't know what to say, mate. I mean, I think we've glazed him plenty. He's he never gives up. He's true to his values. He wears a lot of shit, from a lot of people, unfairly and unfortunately, and he's done it again. His good looks belie his toughness. This is a series that he's never won before. He's never won a Test series, and the number of times he's put his team on his back and said, "Come with me." It really actually is countless. He doesn't particularly do it. I mean, I think to Edgbaston as a time when he kind of was there at the dramatic denouement of a game and literally won the game with the winning runs. But other times he just gets his team back into the game or puts them on a path to victory in often the most boring, banal, the painful parts of Test matches or any cricket fixtures. He identifies the time when the chips are down, when people are low, and it's invariably at those times he says, "Give me the ball." I've noted insider criticism of his propensity to take the ball after a partnership is broken and pick up a couple cheapies. But fuck me, I mean, if you're flying up the back in 37B and having to basically carry the team otherwise, maybe you're entitled to a couple of them, So, I just think, I think he's an absolute class act. He will go down as one of Australia's greatest ever captains. And, I mean, they still have to win in Sydney. It's just amazing with India. There's still more for Australia to do. They've battered these guys for since Perth, but there's still more to
do. Steve Smith was imperious in the game. I mean, it's as good as he's looked in ages. He found a way to score runs in Brisbane, obviously the game before, but now it's back-to-back hundreds. I mean, this was something that I definitely did not see coming. The wicket was difficult throughout. Really, I mean, it did look easy. It did look easier to bat when the ball was old, but maybe for a couple of hours on a couple of different days. But I mean, Australia managed to take 7 wickets with the old ball. So I mean, that was gas truck stuff as well. But I guess what I'm saying is it'd be easy to say the wicket was flat, with the Steve Smith 100, but he was looking the absolute business. The stability of the crease, the head was still, his game plan might not have changed really that much over the last couple of years, but whatever this game plan is, it's working, whereas the others were perhaps not working as well. Though he did score 90 at the Gabba last year, opening the bat against the West Indies and Shamar Joseph, so I thought that was pretty good as well. But this was imperious, Steve Smith. This was stable. This was drives down the ground. This was authority through the leg side, not looking susceptible to the short ball. Left the ball well. This was proper glory years, Steve Smith, and it fucking gives you hope for another second wins. Like, I don't know, Tendulkar did have a second and third win. Probably, I'm not going to say it's as good as that, but given that, like we were saying probably 2 weeks ago, like Jeezy Isaac is not looking good. To this, that is an incredible turnaround, and his first innings runs. I mean, that's all you ask for, right? For your batters, like win us the game in the first innings, and don't know if he did that, but it was a hugely important 140 that he scored.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of us who didn't think we'd ever see that version of Steve Smith again. I mean, I know I was. I was one of them. You know, generally in cricket, once you get to the point where it's pretty clear the eyes are painted on with acrylic, oil-based, whatever it is, needing steel wool to clear it off, you don't see that fluency again from that player. They don't give you a glimpse. You might see it in a shot every so often or a movement, but you don't see it across 140 runs. Some might say, well, that just means that there always has been. You know, he always has had it. But, gee, it's been a really long time since we've seen that, and we're so lucky to get a chance to look at it again. It also allows us to, for the numbers oriented among us, it allows Steve Smith to now go to the SCG without any question mark over his spot as, you know, one of the leading run scorers in the series. 51 runs away, is it, he goes?
Yep.
From 10,000 test runs. You know, there is a decent chance, a more than decent chance, that he brings up 10,000 test runs at his home ground. I mean, if that doesn't get you cooing like a pigeon, you know, I don't know what will.
I think he averages 70 at the SCG as well.
You know, it's an opportunity. I mean, fuck, the montages are going to be unbelievable over the next couple of days.
Christ,
I mean, strap in Australia, and beyond. Because, like, I guess the being able to have a look at his, you know, him approaching the close of his career does prompt you to think back to what he's given. And I mean, I'm not ready in a lot of ways, but like, not that matters. But when the montages come together, I mean, it's gonna be like, again, it's gonna be fresh belts. It's gonna be tangerines. It's gonna be puffs of Dorito dust on your belly at night, watching the savant go to work. You know, as the face ages.
I mean, the whole thing,
it's a chance to enjoy.
The whole thing is safety, right? I mean, like, Australia built their cricketing success on the foundation of safety. You know, we've always had good bowlers, you know, through your Benos to your McDermotts to your Warnes to your McGraths to your Cummins, right? A couple of outliers there, but you take my point. But safety is based on the foundation of, like, just enormous runs, like just cannot be penetrated runs. Runs that cannot be penetrated, defenses that cannot be surpassed. You know, and it's all back to Bradman. It's all back to Bradman stuff.
It's
and like
shapes, isn't it? It's the shape of the body. It's the shape. It's the contortions and the shapes. It's silhouettes. There's going to be a time soon when the shape and silhouette of Steve Smith's not part of the team. You know, whether he's like in the nets or batting or on field or taking catches or whatever. Even the gesticulations, the sort of the jabby little gesticulations, the big hands. That's something will depart, something will die at that point.
A time will come when Australia will be 2 for 25 and Cam Green will be in next, and maybe Cam Green goes through a rough patch and we'll be like, oh, do you remember when Steve Smith used to come in and everything was going to be okay? Like Dad would come home from work and he'd bring home a packet of crisps and he'd put down his briefcase and he'd pick me up and he'd give me a hug. You know, that's what Steve Smith has been for the nation. And when that day departs and Dad won't come home anymore, then we'll just go out looking for a new dad. But there'll be a gap. There'll be a gap where there's no safety
There's a program,
in the runs
there's
anymore.
a Big Brother program that you can look for as well. But it's never going to be your dad. He's never going to smell like the brute cologne that he used to wear when he got home.
And he's receptionist for some reason. Yeah,
that's right. And a little whiff of perfume on his earlobe.
Anyway, let's talk about a guy at the other end of his career, Sam Konstas. Now, we went through the... I feel like I'll speak for myself. I went through the full emotions with Sam Konstas. I went through the full roller coaster of emotions with Sam Konstas. Just having absolute kittens and conniptions with Konstas as Bumrah looms at top of mark. Yeah, like it was so exciting what happened. And then he was doing stuff with the crowd. And I was thinking like, he is just living the dream that every single cricket fan in any country is having right now. MCG, Boxing Day, 90,000 people, fielding on the boundary, getting involved with the people like showing you so much love and adoration after you've just done this amazing thing against perhaps the greatest of all time. And then it got to a point where I was like, just settle down, Sammy. Just settle down a bit, you know, like so. And then he was talking to Jaiswal, and you know, like it's Konstas is such a contrast to the percentage-based play, you know, 85-plus test matches, 10-year careers of the entirety of the Australian team, the cool, calm collectedness of the footy brain of Alex Carey, and the calmness of Andrew McDonald and Pat Cummins, and you know the wile and guile of Nathan Lyon. And even like the obscurity of Marnus, but he's still like a cricketer. You know, this was raw insanity for 5 days, and he lives at like the complete opposite spectrum, where like he's chatting to the batters, he's getting involved with the crowd, he's talking to the bowlers, getting a couple of stoushes, you know, like. But like, how I feel about it is like, nah. First test match, fucking mate, do whatever you want. All your mates are there. Your mates must be having like the absolute time of your life. The group chat must be one of the all-time greatest group chats. His teammates are definitely going to try and get him a fuck after his debut. Let's be right about that. You know, like that's all part of the experience. He's got a baggy green. He's got the shades on his head. He's in clothes. He's talking to the bat. Mate, he's just trying to get on camera. He's playing like that's fucking amazing. He's 19. It's fucking amazing. But after day 3, I was like, just settle down, Sammy. Just cool your jets. Just so, you know, I don't know what I want. But but it was like, it just lives so far the opposite end of the spectrum of the rest of the team. So I suppose it stands out more, you know? How did you go with Konstas' test match Bezza?
I don't really know what to add to that, you know, like, but I'll say something. No, I mean, the grade prism wouldn't be kind to it. Put it that way. You know, like, if a 19-year-old carried on like that for so long, like, the piece needs to be enormous to... I'm just saying. I'm not saying that's what I think, you know.
It's just what happened in grade cricket.
I'm just saying that's just what would happen. That's what the approach would be. Like, it would be happy for you to like swim outside the flags, particularly if you're scoring runs and helping us score runs. It's funny, but like a couple of days into it and we're still doing the same stuff, and you're getting knocked over again. It's like, you know, all right, youngster. Like, let's kind of let's bring you back between the flags. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, like his performance, not just with the bat, but like his like performative kind of nature around the camera. It, you know, if we can chat about it seriously, I don't think that, like, this wasn't forewarned by anybody, this stuff. Like, I do wonder the extent to which he kind of... The occasion itself, the access to cameras and everything brought something out in him, like how they teach you in musical theatre to play the character 100 times bigger than you're meant to, and that's about how the audience takes it. Like, you think that you're just being completely over the top, but that's actually, you know, that's what theatrical performance is.
Yeah.
Like, I only caught Sean Abbott in the lead up to the game saying, He's got plenty of chat, and he's a bit of an airhead, and there's banter and stuff like that. He's cheeky, but not like I'm fucking signing autographs before the end of the first session, and like. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And like giving it the Merv stuff on day 5, like making it your thing. I don't know if anybody saw that, and I sort of would. I'm kind of happy for it because, like, in Australian cricket, that kind of conduct doesn't slip through the net. Somebody catches you at some point. Normally at under 10 level. Right, so some angry, sad man will stop you and make you a homogenous, masculine ideal of the 1980s or 70s. You know, don't say anything. Keep all your emotions to yourself. And that's what's called, like a kind of graceful heroism. But like this, like what actually reminded me of a little bit. It reminded me of Renshaw coming into the team a little bit. Like, I know this might be drawing a long bow, but like someone who, when Renshaw came into the team, he had a few like unpolished corners to his actions on the field where he looked like just a big kid playing reps, who was better than everybody else. And you're like, the game's going to catch up to you there, mate. Like the players will somehow do it too. But like, I do think that it's a credit to Cummins' captaincy. They really do believe in the you do you thing, and I think they recognise that it needs some youthful energy. I mean, the criticism of the team has been like, fuck, they're skeletons, They're that old, these guys. They have to be one of the oldest test teams to have ever played. So then, they bring in the opposite of that, and people are like, come on, mate, cool your jets. You just need to, bring a bit of maturity into it. You just can't win.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there, Pezza, because his innings in the first innings when he made 60, that innings reminded me a bit of Khawaja's 37 at the SCG. So if you don't remember that was it against England?
Yeah, it was, yeah. The series was done.
Yeah, and Khawaja played his first test match, hometown boy, obviously, SCG, young guy coming in, and he played like one of the most brisk 37s where he was playing a shot of ball. It was all adrenaline. Like Konstas' innings remind me a lot of that. And I wondered, like there, when you're speaking about if so much was happening in his brain which is not fully formed yet, and I say that respectfully, where like it was all just like one chocolate bar after another. He's like, there's a fucking camera in his face when he's on 35 being like, how you seeing him? He's like, I hope they bring Bumrah back, like he's happy to do the interview. He's grabbing phones, he's doing selfies. There's a guy on Twitter saying he should be banned because he's holding a phone. The players allowed to hold phones. And what about the betting? He's doing the Merv thing, like he's saying to Nathan Lyon before the game and Stark just like, this actually feels like a grade game. Like the whole thing goes like, it's like one candy bar for another, one Malteser, then a Snickers. I'll have a Mars bar, thanks. Like it was all just sugar hit. Like, I'm going to ramp him now. I'm going to do it again. What about a reverse? I'm going to hawk him over here now. Like the whole thing, like he actually won't remember any of that. Like it's all a blackout dream, like it's just, but that's why it was so fun as well, and like, we'll get into the reaction later, but like, I don't think Indians have ever addressed why Australia started to boo Kohli, because like it wasn't that what he did was a fucking disgrace. It was that like he was just targeting like this most joyous thing that we'd not seen from the Australian side in fucking like a decade, like, I suppose we're talking about how we all feel about the whole thing, and like he just gave such a long-lasting, historic memory for anyone that was there or watched it on TV. People will talk about that for 50 years. Whatever happens to Konstas, where he plays 2 more test matches or he plays 120. Like, people will always remember that against that bowler and that whole occasion and the test match that followed. But, so, you're sort of like, mate, you do you. That was so fun. But longer term, I reckon there's some older guys being like, big test match, next test match, just cool your jets. As you say, swim between the flags. Like, just settle down a bit.
Yeah, great point. Like, I suppose this is what I'm trying to get at. Like, what we were told heading into this test match is that this kid Sam Konstas is actually like a he's a run glutton. He scores runs at every grade, he scored runs at every level on the way in. That very credible judges think that he has the game, the mechanics to succeed at test level that we're talking about the next generation of, we're talking about possibly handing the baton over, whether it's Smith, Marnus, Konstas or whatever, that he's the next superstar of cricket. Now, so we're all waiting to see what it looked like, at the very highest level against the best player. And I don't think anyone was expecting fucking ramps on a raging green seamer and signing some autographs, taking selfies and showering at lunch. Like that wasn't the promise. It was fucking awesome. And it opened the game up for Australia in a way that nobody guessed. The only way, clearly the way to get under Bumrah's skin is to ramp and reverse ramp him. Make sure they send that fucking fly slip back or whatever the fuck it is. And then the field opens up and Smith will make 140. It was obvious.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward to, what the run glutton Konstas looks like, because it would be true to say that, that kind of performance, it isn't sustainable long term. But my suspicion is that, as you say, he's a kid who just made the absolute most in a dreamlike way of every moment in that game, and that it probably will come back to something a little bit more, what's the word, a little bit more intelligent for long-term Test cricket success. So yeah, it felt like quite momentous to be there for it.
Marnus also batted brilliantly in both innings. That should be said. 70 in each innings. He was terrific. But should we just talk about Bumrah and how good that was? Yeah. I actually found it interesting because the BBC have been following this Test match, just on their socials, and there was a graphic that they put up saying, is Bumrah the greatest of all time? And obviously their audience is largely, UK-based, right? And the comments are always a great barometer of just, normal people online, but they are yet to realise, I think, what Australians weren't quite realising until the beginning of this series, how good he is. Because Bumrah's come out here twice before, and he's been outstanding, and he's led the attack. And perhaps the batters have done... the reason India won last time was Rahane's captaincy. Rahane scored 100 at the Boxing Day Test last time they were here. Rishabh Pant gets the flowers for the Gabba Test match, of course. Vahare was really important, as was Ashwin in the Sydney Test match to get the draw for India there. The time before that, Bumrah was excellent. There's probably some excuses that Australians would feel like, rightly or wrongly, about Australia being at its lowest ever ebb post sandpaper, not the strongest 11 they could have put out, perhaps. But Bumrah played in that series and he was great as well. But this version of Bumrah, I've never seen anything like it. The only thing I can even vaguely remember in my lifetime is Ambrose, in terms of just a fear factor, just a Joe Rogan fear factor. In that every ball he bowls is a threat to the stumps, to the inside half of the bat, the outside half of the bat. There's a bumper, there's a slow ball, there's a cunningness to the action, to the mind games of his bowling. It's when he goes to England, who knows what that's going to be? But I just found it interesting that other parts of the world just still see Broad and Anderson perhaps as better bowlers, or Stain or McGrath or whatever, or Walsh or whatever. And it's this is something that I've never seen close before in recent years. And there's been some great players that have come here, but this is just unbelievable. And I said during the dailies, sorry, but one more thought. I said in the dailies, the threat level, the difference in threat level, though Siraj and Akashdeep bowled okay in the second innings here, the threat level is between Bumrah and the rest. And it is remarkable that Australia aren't further behind given Bumrah's capabilities. Or maybe it's amazing that India are losing. I don't know.
Yeah. Well said. I think that relativity is... When it comes to, figuring out who's good, I think the relativity of players in the same game is really instructive. So, as you point out, Bumrah is just several, rungs more threatening than his colleagues. He actually makes his colleagues look like twos players, probably more than they are. But he actually does it in relation to our players too, I think, to be at the ground. what he's able to conjure on foreign decks goes, it seems to me, above and beyond what our own players can conjure, and we laud them as some of the greatest that we've ever had. It's not to take away from what they're offering. The guy, the Aussie boys are, they're 2-1 up, and they've played as a team. They've played as a collective. It's fantastic. There have been. You just call out all of those elements of Bumrah's bowling that are just frightening. Like pace, length, movement in the air, off the pitch. His summing up of conditions is also masterful. There was a moment in the third innings where it appeared as though the deck was going to sleep a little bit. The ball was getting softer. But actually, Bumrah just came back on and got it moving again, when nobody else could. He knows lengths to bowl. He knows how to use the ball. He's a very smart operator as well. So, we are watching something historic. It's interesting when you mention that England comparison as well. I remember being in conversations with people about the Kohli versus Tendulkar debate with English people, and this is right off the top of my head. My understanding is Kohli's done some things out in England that have been mind blowing, perhaps in a way that Tendulkar didn't quite, and arguably the reverse out here. I think Sachin's done some things to Australia that, although Kohli's had some sensational series and some sensational knocks, I'm not sure he's stood out the way Tendulkar has, especially against the team that we regard as the greatest. And I just wonder if there might be an element of that with Bumrah. Australia leads the way when it comes to completely ignoring anything unless it's done at our times on our shores against our players. Everything else happens when we're asleep. It'll be interesting to see how Bumrah goes out in England. I know he's been there before, but they have a propensity with the way they're playing cricket to, produce very flat wickets. So, and obviously they ramp heaps. So, it'll be interesting to see what plans Bumrah can come up with to do what he's done here.
The guy's averaging 12 in this series, 30 wickets at 12. He averages 19 in his career, and I would say he's actually a better T20 bowler than he is a Test bowler. It's just remarkable. Hey, Nitish Kumar, you mentioned earlier, Pezza, about Australia were never really in front of the game. Perhaps they were in the first innings where Australia found India. After Jadeja got out, they were like 5 for 150 or something like that. And then Nitish Kumar already scores this great 100. Bats for ages with Washington Sundar, who made a terrific 50 as well. Perhaps at that point they were miles in front of the game then, though. What happened still happened. Nitish Kumar already was outstanding, and that was actually in a very similar way to when Shamar Joseph ended up knocking over the Aussies at the Gabba last year. This year in January. There were a lot of people that were really happy about that, and I think that actually speak a lot of Australians. And there was that sort of speaks to Australians' sensibilities about Test cricket, especially. I think that's a young guy that looked every bit the Test cricketer, averages 21 or 22 or 23 in first-class cricket, whatever it was before then. It's technically perfect. It was patient. It was gritty. It was had some great flourishes through the offside, especially, and then to lift Boland over mid-on when he was on 99 and 2 wickets had just fallen, leaving him potentially stranded. I mean, that was a really wonderful moment. His dad being the crown, then you see the lovely stuff afterwards about his dad meeting Sonny Gavaskar and touching his feet and like the cultural sensibilities and meaning of that. Like all of that is just like that's cricket coming together as a really genuinely beautiful moment. That aside, he batted fucking brilliantly, and we spoke about it on the dailies, being like, Jesus, I mean, how annoying is it when their best batter bats at 8? I mean, can that stop happening, please? He bats 7, but can that stop happening, please?
Yeah,
it was great. It was great.
He won't bat 8 for long, So, or 7 or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah. Hell of an innings. Obviously not enough in the end.
Yeah, all good, mate.
But
losing side.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, no, fuck's sakes, boys. Well done. 100 on the losing side. Congratulations. Dad's there. He achieved a lot of things that a lot of great cricketers would want to achieve. You know what I mean? 100 on a losing side and your dad turns up. What a head of hair his dad has as well.
Great salad.
Great salad. Hell of a knock.
Let's talk. Should we get to the part that everyone wants to talk about now? The people that have been swimming in for the last few days. I mean, it's 50 minutes in. Like, if you were doing like a show smartly,
where's the moron stuff?
Yeah, you'd probably open with this sort of gear, but we actually wanted to pay tribute to what's been a great week in Australian cricket. But now let's get to the dumbest shit of all time, mate. I feel like. Mate, I feel like this is the most fucking flat Earth stuff I've ever seen. You know, I'm not just talking about the Jasprit catch, though I am talking about that as well, but not exclusively. Mate, the conversation like and the cheerleading and the nationalistic pride coming out of one of the broadcasters about, you know, how come they boo, well, how dare they boo our players, you know, and like and then the catch as well. It's like it is utter flat Earth fucking garbage. Like why do you think the Australian public would boo the players? Is it because their behaviour has been fucking disgraceful? You know, or is it because also we're allowed to support our team? Is that also allowed to? Of course, we're not allowed to, but, you know, there's that. And that's before you get into the fucking optical illusion, fucking BCCI vice president tweeting about the catch wasn't out. Like, it's flat Earth stuff, mate. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? It's a waste of time. It's like, at what point does Snicko not need to, like, if I hit a ball to mid-off and Snicko didn't pick it up, do we still need to follow Snicko? Like, at what point does it, like, you can just see with your eyes that he fucking smashed it? At what point do you need to believe the scientists that the Earth is round? I mean, it's like, it's going to wind myself up, but like,
do it.
It's also, there's also like an element of like the cry more chat from now. Like, I will say this as well. I have seen many of our friends, Pezza, our Indian friends, who have said they're embarrassed by the chat. Just move on for it. It sucks that we lost. He hit it. You know, there is, of course, that reaction, and there's a reason why they're our friends, because they're nice, normal, funny people, right? But, like, there is this element of, like, they constantly say, like, cry more when Australians or English or New Zealanders complain about something, and then when something goes wrong or they feel aggrieved, the fucking teary meltdown is like, oh, it's just glass houses, fucking stones, glass houses kind of gear. Like, it's reflecting upon yourself. Anyway, mate, the Earth is flat. What are your thoughts?
I think well said, and I think a lot of people are just be going, yes, he goes, like Jack Nicholson style, like more. Mate, look, so much of what you read online is fucking unhinged. But what's new? Like online is a place of not just unfiltered bullshit, but like highly contaminated thought. And this time, Indian incels are busier than a fiddler's elbow repeating banal bullshit they read somewhere else. The online debate will chunter on between rage-addled avatars repeating pointless tribal demagoguery for fucking forevermore, and there's 1.5 billion Indians, okay? So there's just more of them. But the reason I'm saying that is because my understanding is it is not the normal discourse happening in India about this game. You know, there's just a fuck ton of Indians. It just means there's more of them. There's fuckloads of Australians who talk absolute trash all the time, right?
About the captain.
And mainly on Facebook threads. It's a demographic thing. Honestly, though, if you go to like Times of India, Hindustan Times, whatever, it's not filled with rage about the failure to, rigorously apply technology called Snicko, in a bad faith way. It's just something that fuckwits are hanging on to, right? And it is a shame. And it just, so my point is, it doesn't represent what intelligent Indian people are talking about. And there's heaps of intelligent Indian people out there as well, way more than Australia. You know, there's just economies of scale. But let's read a couple of the dumb comments.
But sorry, no, Pezza, I agree with you. But when you've got one of the greatest to ever play the game saying, like, you know, it could be an optical illusion. What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? How can you say that with a straight face? Oh.
No, it actually, that site, so I think there's a difference between, whoever it is sliding into your DMs, and threatening you, or someone in comments saying crime, or you're like, got to be 13 years old, and people like Sonny G in that moment. To be fair to him, I don't know if he's maintained that perspective. The following day, we all say things in the heat of the moment. Rajiv Shukla, who is vice president of the BCCI, so his tweet was, Yashaswi Jaiswal was clearly not out. Third umpire should have taken note of what technology was suggesting. While overruling field umpire, third umpire should have solid reasons. And I've seen that idea, like dog whistled or just said, really with Gavaskar beyond the optical illusion stuff. He said the evidence of the technology, if it's not to be taken, why have it at all? That is what would definitely be the query as far as Indians are concerned. So none of these things are actually rising to a disagreement with the final decision. It's just a complaint. And the thing that makes this insidious is that, like, so many other things in the world right now, with leaders, they just tap poisons running beneath the surface of society, and that poison, I think, when it comes to cricket, is that right now, given the power structures of the game, India is above the law. It is like, here was something where this third umpire, let's get his name, Shafadullah, fucking golden balls from Bangladesh, had every opportunity to look at that snicko and go, well, do I want to live and work, or do I want to have to go into hiding? And he's actually, like, I reckon there'd be a lot of third umpires who look at that, make a rational calculation and go, yeah, that's not out, right? I know where my bread is buttered. But he hasn't done that. And I think that the poison that runs beneath it is that, as you say, it was very clear that Jaiswal hit the ball, for reasons it'd be actually be like degrading to have to explain. He clearly hit the ball. But the poison that runs beneath is that I think when people are saying, well, what about Snicko? What they're really saying is that, like, there was a way that India could have got what it wanted here. Why didn't that happen at that time? I mean, look at and this runs into the Kohli stuff for me, right? Like Kohli shouldering Konstas by any read was appalling. It was appalling conduct, and the feathery inquisition that went into that. And the fucking poultry whip round where he had to pay basically 20 cents is a disgrace, really. It makes a mockery of what's fair. Now, my life can go on with Kohli shouldering Konstas out. I have my own life, and things are fine. But we're talking about two-speed economies here, so there is like a certain satisfaction that an umpire with a lot of reasons with technology to go, okay, that's not out. When, nah, I can see what everyone else can see, Because so often in cricket right now, there are... this is before you get to Rohit, who says, we're on the wrong side of umpiring decisions. Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about? I think the rest of the world gets gaslit with Indian administrative power. And here's a scenario where it was like, nah, it's out. It's been given out. Play on. And to be fair, I think most Indians agree with that as well.
Mate, we said this a couple of weeks ago, like, it happens here a lot in Australia that when things start going wrong, the toys go out the pram. And, like, I could run a laundry list. I don't think I will, because I don't think it's particularly productive and perhaps a little bit emotional if I did. But when I think about, when I've seen the commentary, into India about how come they boo our players, not once addressing why that's happening. Because when I think about the reaction that Nitish Kumar Reddy got for his 100, when I think about how the public thinks about Bumrah, I'm talking about Australians, when I think about how Kohli was starting to be really admired in Australia for what he's done because he scored some of the toughest runs against the biggest cunts of all time when he first scored in 2014 when he scored 500s out here or whatever 400s, and like he was always really prickly character, but like we did respect it. Then he scored that the winning knock in the 2022 World Cup against Pakistan at the MCG, the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life in a sporting field. He came here being lionised and adored. You know, he was on the back page of covers. And then he does one of the worst. He just does something that really lets himself down. He lets himself down enormously by doing that. And Australians are having like great fun with this guy, and it's Boxing Day and all that. And they start booing him, you know. And then the reaction is just like, see, this is what Australians are like. How dare they treat our players? And then there's also like this cultural element of like, they're Australians make heroes out of their players, but they don't deify them. They don't lionize them to the same point that it is in India, and that's just a cultural thing. It's not right or wrong. It's just an observation. But Kohli let himself down massively by doing that. That was a real shame that he did that, and it's a real shame that he's going to get booed in Sydney. But that's because of what he did. In the same way that Siraj gets booed because of what he did. Travis Head played his part in that. And by the way, Travis Head apologised for his role in that and said he let himself down. And Siraj's response to that was he lied about what he said, you know. So there was no contrition just yet about that. So, you know, like, I'm not. It's very convenient for me to sit here and be like, Australians are always right. And I think it's been pretty obvious in this podcast that we've called Australians and the Australian team in the past massive knobs, and it's part of Cummins. In fact, it's mostly Cummins' success as a captain that he's managed to turn that around. But mate, you're being gaslit into, like, you know, decisions don't go our way. That wasn't out. I'm talking to the umpire. That's before you get into ball tampering in Mackay and whatever else happened there. And then, you know, getting upset and calling Australian fans disgraces for booing their players when their behaviour was not up to standard, you know. So I guess I'm getting a bit emotional and patriotic about that. But I guess that at the same time, when they have a fucking meltdown and lose 7 for 30 and drop a test match that they were in complete control of, it just makes it a bit sweeter, doesn't it? I should take a breath now because I'm getting wound up myself, and it's not helpful. But that's just how I feel, you know.
No, that was good. That was lucid as fuck. Again, the belt's coming out.
A tribute to Michael Hutchins.
Exactly. I mean, it's because careful. There's a sense that you know, some people are above the law and others aren't. And then there's a further sense that people in public don't call that out as well. And so it's important that it does get called out as in as balanced a fashion as possible. It's difficult to operate with balance when the other party doesn't, though. You know, you feel like you want to overcompensate back, and that's when you open yourself up to similar accusations of bias and parochialism. I mean, I haven't heard anybody yet speak about Jaiswal's remonstration with the umpire after he was given out, right? I mean, yesterday, like, I have at a human level sympathy for somebody his age perhaps not understanding that the third umpire applied the laws in a way that the third umpire is allowed to apply the laws, that is to use the technology as a tool, but ultimately regard the camera as technology as well, you know?
Yeah.
Which is a suppressed premise through all of this. Like, why don't you use the technology? No, there was technology. It's called using your fucking eyes with several cameras showing that the ball had deviated. Exactly. What's a video camera now? Am I fucking... yeah, anyway. I should settle down as well. But, him not getting off the field and remonstrating with the umpire to that level at his age is appalling. You know, it's appalling behaviour. You wouldn't cop it from your 8-year-old doing it, playing cricket on the weekend. I don't think that's being grandiose or grandstanding, being too holy about it. And then Akashdeep was the same. And perhaps it is easy to say this after they've gas trucked 7 for 30 in 20 overs, and just completely taken the wind out of their sails and possibly lost themselves a series. But it requires calling out, I think, on a very, very important podcast through the prism of grade cricket, years 2001, 2009 inclusive.
So the SCG moving forward, Pezza. So I guess Tom Decent did an article this morning. I'm not sure if you caught that, talking about he got some quotes with Andrew McDonald about Mitch Starc. So obviously Mitch Starc isn't fully right. It's the shortest turnaround there can possibly be in a Test series. There's 3 days between Test matches. 4 days, I suppose. 3 full days of rest if you include today, the first, the second, and the game starts on the third. So 3 full days of rest, 4 days between games. But it's sort of hard to see him being left out. Now, an interesting one is Mitch Marsh, who I guess takes some important catches. He scored 72 runs, averaging 10 in the series. I don't think he's got past 10, or he might have got past 10 once in the series so far. He's hardly bowling. They're winning games. I wouldn't be surprised if the team is unchanged. It's I don't know what to make of it, man. I mean, I suppose it depends how sore guys are, because, Andrew McDonald said in Tom Decent's article, that you wouldn't necessarily need a fifth bowler to do a bulk of overs. Mitch Marsh is basically bowling somewhere between 6 and 7 overs in the game. If you get another 5 days, the weather looks okay in Sydney. The next 5 days doesn't look like there's any sort of whole days lost to rain like there has been in previous years. Touch wood. Short turnaround. Starc maybe not fully fit. High pain threshold though, apparently. So I don't know what to make of it in terms of the Aussie side. Anyway, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen people link Stark's injury to Mitchell Marsh's elevated chances of selection, but I don't really understand that. I mean, Mitch Marsh is a batter. That's what he's been in the side. He's a specialist batter. He contributes with the ball as much as 2 or 3 of the other batters as well, and that's owing to the fragility of his body. He's really by any measure, his position in the side is untenable on account of his output. However, what is in his favour, and this stuff makes sense or has a little bit more validity when you are winning games of cricket, but he is regarded as a cultural centrepiece of the team. People, they do love him. They love him being in the side, and that, they will reason that he's carried them at different times and sorted them out, and saved them in particularly the top order quite a lot in the 18 months he's been back in the side, when they've been batting with a toothpick, and they may reason, that it's their time to carry him. I think, I don't think there's much in the nature of his dismissals that suggests that he's got a big one around the corner. But then again, I thought India was going to win yesterday, so what the fuck do I know?
Mitch Marsh, the captain?
So yeah, that's right. So I think that, my guess is that they will retain him on account of winning, and they will back him to come good in the series, and they'll do it because they place value in the, and this is, people will just roll their eyes at this, and the older they are, the more they will, and maybe with good reason, but the emotional equilibrium he brings to the team, that you're clutching at straws in cricket when you can't bring runs and wickets to the table. And so if they did decide to oust him for Bo Webster, I don't think he could have too many complaints. And if they did it, it'd be a great moment for Slug. We'd love to see it. We'd love to see the shapes. He bats in a similar way to Mitch Marsh. He's been really successful with the ball. But that said, if the team decides to retain Mitch Marsh, I think that is defensible enough at 2-1 in the series. I'd understand it at a human level. So yeah. And let me just say, had they not won the test, that wouldn't be my view. Not that my view particularly matters. I think if they go in 1-1 or they're down 2-1, then you'd have to get rid. But
yes.
Players do tend to stay in teams when they're winning.
Oh, and I think that's the Australian way as well, Pezza, where Australia don't often drop guys in and out. You basically get given a go, and if it doesn't work out, you're gone for a while until you sort of figure it out. Another opportunity comes up. They're not really like choppy and changey kind of vibe. So I agree. Had they lost the game or even a draw, different conversation. You win, and it's like, well, it's Bison, you know. I'm sure it was sorted out. It was sorted out. Now, what about? I reckon we're probably looking at Rohit Sharma's last Test match. Probably. I mean, I must admit, I'm less across what that looks like. Though you got Shubman Gill on the wings. You know, Rohit's the captain. But it looks like he's been a great servant to Indian cricket. He doesn't look like scoring a run. There's a couple of bad shots knocking about. I wouldn't say the captaincy is completely so aspirational that it's 100% required. You got batters deluxe coming out of every orifice in every corner at all times. So, you know, how much is he needed? But, there's a lot of player power there. But you have to say, you're probably looking at Rohit's last Test match. Kohli, I reckon maybe different conversation. I reckon. I mean, he has more recently scored 100, of course. But what do you reckon? I reckon we're looking at Rohit's last Test. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he retired ahead of it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good analysis. I mean, I don't really have a dog in the fight with the Indian team. And I think that he could, unlike a lot of the Australian batting questions over the last year or two, I don't think, where the cupboard feels bare and you're like, well, I know guys are batting with a toothpick and their eyes are painted on Deluxe or with Dulux. In India, there's just replacements aplenty. Yeah. And for me, it seems like he'd probably want to go out on his own terms, which is that player power element coming into it. He does seem to be attracting a lot of attention for his viability in the side at the moment, and probably unhelped by the fact that under Bumrah they won that game, and since then it's looked like he couldn't lead a colony of ants to a picnic.
Sorry. What does this mean for the World Test Championship? Am I right in thinking that Australia just need to win one of the next 3 games? To guarantee?
It's out of India's hands now. If Australia wins one, they're in. If Australia loses, or if they lose or draw, India would still require Sri Lanka to win against Australia 2-0. So I have seen suggested that such is the player power when it comes to Kohli and Rohit. A lot of people sort of regard this conversation as like a package deal. That they're more representative of a particular generation that needs to move on at Test level. But like, if they somehow jammy their way to the World Test Championship final, which is still possible, that not only would they get that game, but the tour to England is in such close proximity, it would be unhelpful really to be chopping and changing the team post WTC final. So they may get that series as well. So I could see how that would be annoying for a lot of people who are like, it's time to move on. But, like, at the end of the day with these things, mate, it's the same with Mitch Marsh or whatever. Like, it's the win and the loss that really turns the dial on players' careers. And it's the same thing for a lot of Aussie players who are in the gun in the last couple of games as well, It's whether your team wins or loses. So that's what makes this SCG test absolutely massive as well because, okay, India can't win the series, but Australia isn't unassailable either. That they are, that they can be assailed in this game, which is all that really matters. Australia plays for trophies; they don't really care about the series like score lines. It's about winning.
No. Mate, just thinking about like the importance of Mitchell Marsh's catch off Rishabh Pant in that context. Now, like you said yesterday, he was in front of us at our vantage point, which is pretty cool to see all that unfold. But like he sort of juggled the catch in the end. I mean, pretty hard to drop a catch with buckets that size, I would have thought. But how important that catch ended up being, given they then took the absolute gas after that, and then for his career, perhaps, like if he drops that catch and then they play out for the draw. I don't think there's any guarantees. Now, there's no guarantee he's playing the game anyway, but I don't think there's any guarantee he plays the SCG Test match if he drops the catch and India get the draw. So to take that catch in that moment, I mean, it was a good catch. But it'd be great to chat to him about how he would look back on that, because he's also only 33, Marsh. When I say only 33, that feels quite young compared to some of the other guys. So
yeah,
he might feel like there's more years to give in his Test career. He's sort of got like this second coming, right? So it's a fucking huge moment for him. Anyway, Pez, we need to shout out Ponting Wines, 20% off the full-price wine collection using the code GETAFEW at pontingwines.com.au. Cannot wait to be having a Ponting Wines with the great man himself, RT Ponting, backstage at the Enmore. I would have thought he might bring a little something for the boys to sample backstage. Now, that's not accessible to anyone, so there's actually no point even talking about it. It's actually kind of insidery when you do talk like that. But
Ponting Wines, that is.
Ponting
just
Wines.
To be clear. Yeah, in terms of what he's bringing to sample.
Well, I don't know.
See how we are when we get on stage.
If you want 20% off your full-price wines at pontingwines.com.au, use the code GETAFEW. Thanks to TGC, you get 20% off. That's a bloody good deal, Pezza. More value for the show, you know. Shall we do WeMoney first, Pezza? A new sponsor. Let's talk bunts.
Let's talk bunts. Let's talk bunts. He goes. You hear people strapping in, going, "What are the boys got here?"
Yeah.
Well, he goes, "Look," and I've always said this.
Yeah.
Cricket is about strategy, and so is money management.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Not really, but
Not
you
really.
might.
I'm interested to see what next.
The hope is that you don't really, but you might after listening to this.
Tell me more,
because we're talking about the WeMoney app. He goes. So look. I know a lot of people need to say things and to have things explained in cricket terminology. So this is what I'm going to use here. But much like a well-planned innings, 'cause I've always planned my innings.
Yeah.
You know,
just
what I
don't
mean?
get out.
Yeah, that's right. I'll sneak my way to 4, and then I'll somehow jam my way to 6 or 7, and then I'll reach the lofty heights of 16 or 17. I think that's enough. I can get out. I can scoop my short cover.
I just hope the ball doesn't hit me. Scared of it. Hurts when it hits me. Ow.
It's so underrated how much fear of the ball curtails people's techniques in cricket. It's just completely under-discussed. Much like a well-planned innings, WeMoney helps Australians craft smart financial strategies for a secure future and is the number one app you need in 2025. So this is an all-encompassing app. He goes, it's easy. It's got 1 million downloads in Australia. I'm going to tell you what's on the app. There are going to be people right now around the nation. At this time, we're recording on December 31, thinking about, how they're doing their money next year, frankly.
Yeah, big time.
And not to be confused with franking credits, but that might be part of people's things. So WeMoney lets you see all your financial accounts in one place. It gives you a complete 360-degree view of your money, monitor your credit score, discover ways to pay down your debt faster with better products. It's just all in one. So let me tell you some of the features. It's features deluxe, WeMoney. You can see all your accounts in one place. You set monthly budgets and money goals. You can track your payday. You can know your net worth. You can get insights into your spending and saving habits. Check your credit score for free forever. Automatically categorize transactions. You get the gist of what I'm saying. Here goes.
Thanks very much to WeMoney for getting behind TGC. Hey, just a last shout out. Pez and I are actually matching today with our Better Beer shirts.
Yeah.
Better Beer merch is available, actually, but I just want to get behind Better Beer. Day for it. And basically every day is a day for it at this time of year, Pezza. Thanks to Better Beer for getting behind TGC this festive season and indeed this test summer. The Big Bash, though, Pezza, we're talking about Mr. Blobby. The Big Bash has been electric. I'm not sure about you, but it might help that we're commentating on some of the games. But I've been getting into the Big Bash more than I ever have before. Like the games have been interesting. I'd say interesting. The games have had like a certain edge to them. I'm not sure what it is about it. Maybe I'm just so into the Test series that like it's given me a bit more verve and excitement into the Big Bash. But like, I've enjoyed watching David Warner commentate and basically sledge players on the field. Zippy's been doing some haircut stuff. There's been, obviously the Stars completely fucking up every game. I don't know how they keep doing that. Sydney Sixers are good. I think it probably is just like a flow-on from being so invested in the Test. But the Big Bash, I mean, the crowds have been awesome. I watched the game of the Gabba the other night. It was sold out.
It's feeling very comfortable, it is this time of year where you just slip into the Big Bash in the evening, like an evening dress, like a silk dress when I'm on my own. and heels.
I put lipstick on, and I cross off to kill lists, like I'm Steve Buscemi, and I'm watching red versus green. Yeah,
exactly. With ELO's telephone line playing in the background. But it is. It feels like a piece of silk evening wear that you can slide on, turn on the TV, whatever your proclivity of where you like to watch it, and you see a few things that you're used to seeing. You know, the Sixers are going well. Scorch is there and thereabouts. Grade guys scoring tons. Mitch Owen scored a ton. You know, the day after we sledged him, and once again, great judgment from me. James Vince scored 100. You can look at it and see that the Marvel surface is hilariously diabolical because they were doing motocross on it recently or some shit. You also remember that the AFL owns it, has a vested interest in killing this sport at this time of year because that's important for 2K time trials. To be fair, Will Sutherland's taken a great catch last night, so you're getting moments, you're getting highlights. Hell of a catch. That's going into the top drawer. So I actually keep I keep different drawers of catches. I write the catch down and I cut it out with scissors. Yeah. And I'll just say Will Sutherland catch, and I put it in the top in different numbered drawers. Yeah. Right. So Jordan Silks, which was the day before. I wouldn't say it's in the top drawer. Or that's not to be confused with the top drawer that I have, which is reserved for football players like Steven Gerrard.
Yeah, because I do that with football players, Bezza. I write them down on a piece of paper, and it's actually a post-it note. And if someone's a top player, they'll just go a certain height. But if they're top, then they'll go into white bread that I have, which is tip top. That's tip top bread. That's a different thing altogether. So it does get very confusing in my house.
Yeah, it does. Well, especially if you've got a partner, you know, like normally I put underpants in that drawer, but she opens that drawer if she's trying to help me out, and she's like, well, hang on, here's some undies, here are your Calvin Kleins, and here's a piece of paper that says Jordan Silk 2016. What the fuck's that? And I say, put that back. Get out of my drawer, it's mine. Anyway.
And then I realised she's just an inflatable woman. She doesn't actually exist.
That's right. I haven't inflated you for tonight yet.
And then sometimes I put them in an Australian white top, and it says Stark 56 on the back.
You're going. Oh, what did you say? You're going back down to the dungeon with the rest of the uninflated dolls, the ones with the Ponting 14 jersey on, 3/4 sleeves, of course. Whoopsies, we're ticking off. So the Big Bash has been good. And we're commentating next on it on January the 12th.
Yeah, so catch us there.
Catch us there on 7 Plus. Anyway, teams are sort of 3, 4, 5 games in. So, you know, we're not making any calls yet, except that the Stars are fucked. And they're not from 5. There was a moment a couple of games ago. You've got a feel for them. They're playing against the Thunder, and Sam Billings takes a run. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Joel Paris.
Yeah.
Joel Paris throws at the stumps, runs him out, and they don't appeal.
It's a classic. It's a classic of the Penguin genre, though. Boys, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, the Penguin must have been cock a hoop at that. But even Papi's skippering the side. He's their side on. I mean, there's just too much going on at the Stars. They need to clean it out, like I do my drawers.
Well, I think Brendan Julian's on comms, and he tells Glenn Maxwell, who's mic'd up. He says, "Hey, Maxie, you know that run out? It was actually out." And he goes, "Sounds about right."
But it is a very good game. It's a very good league, and it's the future of Australian cricket.
Let's go back to international cricket, Pezza. South Africa,
okay.
As we've said for ages, South Africa are currently the best Test team in the world. They've clinched their spot in the World Test Championship final by defeating Pakistan in the first Test match. That game ended up being an absolute cracking Test match as well. So I actually, mate, I ended up. It was like day 4 of the Boxing Day Test. I was watching a bit of the Big Bash straight away. Then I saw the score in this game, so I flicked it over to that. Like, I don't think I've ever been engaged in this much cricket, and I do a cricket podcast with my friend. And it was like I tuned on just before lunch, and South Africa were 8 for 99, chasing 150 or something, 150-ish, something like that, and then did like 50 something to win. Right?
Yeah, it was 148 to win, and South Africa were 4 for 96. Chasing 148 to win. Then they lost 4 for 3, and they were 99 for 8 just before lunch. So it really, and that was courtesy of Mohamed Abbas taking 6 for just running through South Africa. There was a moment so this is basically you think South Africa, Pakistan. This is 2 teams that were actually gas trucking their way to see who could be the worst. You know what I mean? Like this was like just 2 trucks reversing their way to destiny. And Mohamed Abbas 6 for. There was a moment in that collapse where Temba Bavuma, who was on 40, walked after being dismissed with the cameras showing that he hit it or did it with Snicko. But yeah, that's a sort of chaos that ensued. But yeah, Rabada and Janssen put on 51 to get South Africa there and to book themselves as a guaranteed qualifier for the World Test Championship final. Shout out to Corbin Bosch as well on debut for South Africa, who had bulk runs, bulk wickets, and a hell of a name. Bosch. But South Africa's the World Test Championship final. Good game, good matchup between these 2 teams.
And I feel like obviously there's been a lot of shit spoken about them, and it's almost like that's South Africa's fault. It's South Africa's fault they haven't played England or Australia, or they only played 1 test at home or 2 tests at home against India.
So to be clear with this is people complaining about South Africa's easy road to the World Test Championship final. So there's people usually from India and England bemoaning the unfair fixturing that has permitted South Africa's road to the final. So that's a road where they've played largely teams who are sort of 6th, 7th and 8th. It's like, yeah, dog, the same people bemoaning it are the people who literally fixed Test cricket this way. Like the people bemoaning the inequality created the inequality. You make your bed, you lie in it, you lay with dogs, you get fleas, you know.
And also, I'm up for South Africa. Like if Australia make it, obviously, I want my team to win at all costs on all times.
We'll win by innings.
I know, and what I'm saying is if you make the final, then you're going to win it. But mate, I'm into South Africa there or thereabouts. Like they've had a great T20 run. Obviously, made the World Cup final in America just recently, or the Caribbean. They were good in the 50 over World Cup in India as well until they did the thing they usually do against Australia in the semi-final. But they've got a great generation of cricketers playing for their country at the moment, and they just beat who's in front of them. And mate, as if it's South Africa's problem that they've been fucked out of the game, as if it's their problem. It's fucking awesome that they're in the final. That's my 2 cents anyway. And what I say matters. What does matter though, Pezza, is that there's a great game between Zimbabwe and Afghanistan going on, and I think both teams are still batting somehow. But both teams are just having a stick. So Zimbabwe made 586, then Afghanistan made 699. So that if you've missed out there, might be time to give it up.
There's nothing more to say. It was a draw. That's it. I think Zimbabwe got 142 for 4, and Hashmatullah made 250 or some shit. And
better
just having
than the guy got 240. Yeah.
So that just there are other spectrums of Test cricket. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Not everything's the MCG and fading light with crime wars.
Test cricket should be 6 days, if anything. #AskTGC brought to you by Smith Optics. Smith Optics Australia. You can use the code FAST and you're going to get 25% off plus a free TGC cloth gift. As if we can't give you more things on this show. Sorry about the free show. Except the patrons have to pay for it. But sorry for all the value that you get on this show. Sorry about all the gifts that you keep getting. And also, sorry for the great eyewear, which is saving your fucking vision. And also, you can take catches or you can drop catches. But at least the old peepers there are being protected by glasses that are going to stay on your face.
Someone was calling out a player who dropped the catch recently holding Smith Optics, and I think we were in the press box, and we're like, but did the glasses stay on, championship?
Yeah.
Did they stay on?
Yeah.
Does he look good in them?
Do you reckon Jasprit's taken all 3 catches if he wasn't wearing some dog shit competitor brands?
Exactly.
Sorry.
He's
an idiot.
That's exactly right.
Idiot.
I just want to apologise for all the sponsor integrations where people are basically making money if they take up these offers, like for contributing to people's wealth, and then you can do it through an app as well. Look, a couple of things to shout out with Smith Optics. Here goes. Firstly, if you have made it this far and you are Indian, then that is an unbelievable effort from you, and that's Nobel Peace Prize stuff. Smith Optics has free shipping to... Absolutely. Smith Optics free shipping to India. So get around it. If you want to get involved with Smith Optics, you're going to get free shipping to India. There you go. A couple other things here, guys.
Yep.
There's it's come to my attention that all the new blokes picked in the Australia team have taken on wearing Smith Optics. So again, it's a matter of taste. With one exception, Nathan McSweeney. He goes. Now, I'm not suggesting he's the main reason he was omitted from the team, but Konstas should probably learn from it. I understand that they're trying to get Sam Konstas, they being the grey beards of Smith Optics, the Politburo, who shall remain nameless, are trying to get S. Konstas in a pair of pink ultralight for the Sydney Test. So Smith Optics getting behind Jane McGrath Day as well. He goes. Awesome. So now we're learning that Smith Optics are good people. But it will be a long shot to get Sam Konstas in it. I miss what you said there. It was so funny. But it's a long shot to take seven wickets in the last session with an old ball. So Smith supporting McGrath Foundation for January.
Hashtag AskTGC. Here goes Ventriloquist Doll. Says, boys, I've just watched every ball of Day 3 of Boxing Day, then went straight into Green versus Green of the Finger Bash League. And I'm now watching the darts. So what time tomorrow should I expect the AFP to knock on the door? Will I ever feel the touch of a woman again? Will this erection for Konstas go away? I mean, that's just the feeling of the nation, though, Pezza, isn't it? I mean, just people just walking from one sporting event into another. You're off work, you're having a good time, you're getting off, you're getting hard. I mean, this is such a great time of year, and it's hot. It's fucking great, man. It's great.
I think I think cricket is, receiving attention from those who don't normally pay attention to it as well. So that might assist. I am aware of somebody, a woman. That's it, full stop. But who did write on Hinge once that she listens to The Grade Cricketer, and watch those connections roll in. Just a message to Higo's Ventriloquist Doll. I wouldn't get too down on yourself. I think now's the time to actually embrace who you are. Now, in a couple of weeks' time, absolutely. When the tennis sort of takes over, it's a bit more sophisticated and elegant. You're starting to think about work and that kind of thing. Yeah, Finger Bash League, cricket stuff. Have a look at it.
Jezza wrote in, Dear AskTGC, an ex-Willie Bean cricketer here with a dilemma for you to solve. Me and the boys, brackets men, are going to do a day of cricket at the SCG. Naturally, I'll be pulling the kit bag down from the dusty abyss it sits to don my full kit. Pads, thigh guard, box, gloves, KFC bucket, etc. My question is, what do I wear to accompany such gear? A, my last man stands cricket shorts and shirt. B, footy shorts and my Western Suburbs Magpies jersey, so everyone knows I don't really care for this sport, and I care more about a footy team that hasn't existed in 25 years. Or C, brand new Australia Test whites in the off chance that a string may break or Smudge forgets his eye paint, and they'll be looking into the crowd for someone to have a stick. Yours in Noncery, Jezza. P.S. The AFP can find me at 75 Marriott Street. Assume this message will be automatically forwarded to the appropriate authorities. So
we're dressing up.
Yeah,
we're dressing up for a day of cricket at the SCG.
Yeah, and he's already wearing the cricket gear. So what actually clothing is he wearing? Footy staff, last man stands, or Cricket Australia whites? That's a hard one.
That's the thing, because Ordinarily, if he wore like footy shorts and a Western Suburbs Magpies jersey, you could see people accepting that on a kind of, at a retro level. But if he's wearing footy shorts, a Maggie's jersey, and like he's padded up to bat, that's I think the police would be watching him like a hawk.
With a KFC bucket on his head.
Brand new Australia Test whites in the off chance that a stream may break. Now, The thing is, I do find it jarring. I don't know why it's the SCG, but it's all cricket. Like a lot of people do like to wear like the latest merchandise at the cricket, and I just can't say that I understand it as an adult. But you must say each to one's own. Like, I mean, that's the truth of the matter. Like, live and let live, 100%. That's the actual truth. But then there's just the like, what the fuck are you doing? You're just living your life. That's the answer. I'm having an argument with myself. I mean, just let the boy watch kind of stuff. But when you add the men's test shirt. Like a men's test shirt on a fully grown man, and you add some whites to it, like some ice creams. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if it's done ironically or not.
I don't know if there's anything that you can wear which wouldn't let you into a cricket ground, but that's about as close as it should be, I reckon. And I include the players in that. Q1 Pay Pig. I'm English. I hate Smith. I hate Kohli. What a bad bloke. I like Konstas. Am I allowed to? But I like Kohli creating drama. Do I like Kohli? I hate Kohli. I do hate Smith, though. I came 4th out of 5 at poker today. Couple of shit hands. Should I have gone all in with my 7 and ace? Lovely whiskey, though. It's a lack of reaction because of the release point. Only 3 bumps, so nothing crazy. The miso took us home, though. Oh well, no real question. Just an English cuck paying 30 quid a month to watch Australia beat the Overlords. Zach Crawley is good against pace, though.
That'd be about the standard average Patreon subscriber, I'd say. That's like, well, like we get asked by sponsors for demographics. Just send them that message.
Yeah. Last one, Pezza?
Yes.
Don't touch that. Says, hey lads, just saw you clip commentating the Hurricanes game where Fraser McGurk takes a ball to the nuts. Reminded me of the time last season where I went to sweep some wheelie bin shit bowling and took one in the same spot. My balls were very tender for a few days, but wanted to make sure everything still worked, so I had a wank to test it all out. Quite a wank to test it all out. To my surprise, there was blood in my cum. Fucking hell.
Oh my God.
I instantly messaged the bloke that I was batting with at the time, but he didn't seem interested, so I told the old miso soup instead. She was scared, but like the man I am, I had a wank the next day to ensure my cock was working. But there was blood again. Been a few months now and still got slight pain every now and then. Should I get them checked? Brackets, there is no longer blood in my love source. Yeah, man. I mean, if there's some medical professionals out there listening to that, can they please write in and encourage Don't Touch That to go and seek urgent medical attention?
Yeah, that's not really funny.
That sounds horrendous.
Yeah, I'd go to a hospital, actually.
And dress up as white, dress up in whites in your cricket gear and a bucket on your head, and turn up when to be mitted.
Get your Magpies jersey on, your footy shorts, get padded up, put a KFC bucket on your head, and put yourself into triage at emergency. Say, my pain is 7 out of 10. There's blood in my cum. See what happens. Dear, oh dear.
Well, Pezza, we've done it. Well, what a wonderful show. Happy New Year whenever you listen to this. Hope you have a great night tonight or a rough old day if you listen to this on the 1st of January 2025. Sydney, we cannot wait to see you guys when we walk onto stage. Please, please, please bring the energy, bring the noise, bring the heat. What a great series. What a great summer it's been. If you're enjoying the Big Bash, fucking hell, everything's going great. Everything is going great. Thank you so much to all our patrons who have got behind us in the past 12 months. Thank you to everyone that's watched or liked or listened to or done whatever it is that you do to TGC. You guys mean the absolute world to us. So thank you so much for getting behind us in any capacity. I can't believe how good the summer's been, how good it is, and how exciting the next stage is as well. Pezza, anything you want to say? Should I sign off?
Nah, dog, let's sign off.
See you later.